Chapter 3, Surrounded. While the Imperial Forces are busy trying to restore order, the Resistance army has been growing. It's so large now that it has launched an offensive on Enno Fortress, the largest fort in the Empire. The fort has requested reinforcements from the capital, and the Emperor has dispatched Kaiba and the Imperial Guard. However, the Resistance forces are everywhere. Kaiba and his unit have suffered heavy damage. Kaiba and his unit finally reach Enno, but the Resistance army is too powerful. Things look bad for Kaiba when something unexpected happens. Red 2 standing by, all 4 lit and in the green. Welcome back to YuGiOh the Falsebound Kingdom, and as you can see we have a new Marshal. We'll have some new monsters to meet. Bones' team is actually slightly stronger when we get it. By 1 level. So as you can see, his monsters have the following stats, basically the same as when we battled him. Midnight Fiend is fairly capable. Phantom Dewan is... not. But all of them share Night Adept. They all have status effects. But what I'm going to do now is set up his team. I will take Phantom Dewan off his team. Do you remember when we used Call of the Grave? That's right, Dragon Zombie. Dragon Zombie on Bones' team can be incredibly powerful. It's one of the monsters I chose for his team on my main file, and it is devastating. So, Midnight Fiend is pretty capable for now. We will go for some red medicine because it's got plenty of AP. And so we'll go there and then so Bones is actually, this one probably should get Dianketo just as a backup. So there we are, we've outfitted Bones' team quite well. We can dish out some deadly status effects. Marthas is again just sort of here, though I do intend to keep using Water Girl. She does actually turn out alright once you get going. Now the thing with Marthas is he's a bit of a joke character, as I said, but you're going to find out why. Let's make sure we take Bones with us. Kaiba's team is still going very solidly, but there is one thing I want to do. We will take the deal of Phantom off. Obelisk the Tormentor is ready to go. And that is just going to be fun. Wait, does Octobursa have a... yeah, I can probably take the deal of Phantom off Octobursa and give it... There we go. So, we're pretty well set, all things considered. Let's get going on the next battle. Lord Kaiba, our rear units have been attacked and we've lost contact. We're the only ones that reached the front line. We're doomed. What are we going to do now, Kaiba? There's no way to even escape. Huh. What are you afraid of? You're a program, nothing but ones and zeros. How can you be so calm? And what the heck are you talking about? If you don't do something right now, we'll be wiped out. And you'll be the first one to die, Marthas. Why did I ever volunteer to serve with you? You're crazy. And you, sir, are a fool. That voice! Pegasus, how dare you join this insurgent rabble? You're a member of the noble families. My job is to lead the country on the path of truth, not to serve the Emperor. You and Emperor Heishin have been conducting the affairs of state most hideously, a crime for which you must pay. Amazing, he looks and sounds just like Pegasus. Not only is our resistance more courageous than you will ever be, Marthas, we're smarter too. Surrender now and prepare to face my Say You're Sorry attack. He may just be another character here, But even his personality is just like that of the real Pegasus. All forces, attack! Alright, let's get set for a barricade. We've already got a barricade, let's put a healer up. Alright, so we've had another city taken by the enemy. Bones can move. Actually, I should put in an anti-ground cannon. We might have ground forces coming at us. Now, we will have ground forces coming at us. Actually, let's move Mokuba out this way to see if anybody actually comes at us. Because if we have enemies coming at our main base, then we should be able to actually get Marthas to do something useful for the first time in his life. So I'll have Bones on standby. So we've got those enemies closing in. Mokuba's ready. Over there. Mokuba, sneak around this way. Note that Pegasus Labyrinth Ruler features, well, as a return of the Labyrinth Mage from Forbidden Memories, sorry. I'll get to explaining that later on. We have a few new monsters to meet, but no new ones to acquire over the course of this particular chapter. Guns are firing. Marthas should be good to go. So, just a generic office, just a couple of generic officers. Alright, so first battle up. Do we have any healers? Always the most important thing to check. No healers, all about the same strength on top of that. So this will at least put some decent levels into Martha's team, because I've treated him like a bit of a joke. Some monsters do actually wind up faring pretty well, all things considered. Dark Plant doesn't. It's kind of crap. It stays kind of crap. But I suppose the fact that it gets level 1 magic might have something to do with it, but it at least poisons. And that can be good for crippling your enemies if you can combine it with status effects like paralysis. Because then your enemy can't do anything and they just lose health each turn. Which is kind of amusing. I mean, it's not much when you consider the heights HP can reach, but it's better than nothing. And there we go. Pretty easy win for Marthas. Well, team's gone up a level. Should I keep him on? Nah, I'm a lot more eager to see what Bones can do. I can probably send Marthas after one of our antagonists elsewhere. Now, once Dragon Zombie does get the ability to poison opponents, which I admit isn't much, but its real strengths lie in its phenomenal attack power and the fact that it can get so many AP. Yeah, Marthas can take care of a team like this, no trouble. It is a very impressive monster, and it's even better when you get Armored Zombie. Armored Zombie can paralyze enemies. These two are not to be underestimated, under any circumstances. So that Hitotsume giant might wind up dying because of poison. If it does, we don't get any battle points for it. but we can at least start introducing... Oh, it did survive. We can at least start introducing ourselves to some of the new monsters we got, namely Bones' original team. I've always thought that when Hitotsume Giant got poisoned, it kind of looks like it's a fake card artwork or something, like a bootleg Hitotsume Giant. Jeez Louise, how did it do that much damage? That's something fierce. And there we are. I think the other one I had on Bones' team was Pumpkin, because that can poison things as well, but it just powers everything up to such an extreme. Let's go ahead and take on Hitotsume Giant there. Or we'll miss. But this will lock it down. Like, you get this team going. Bones shows just how good status effects can be in this game. Because in all fairness, being able to use status effects very well is an important part of pretty much most JRPGs. Ideally. Now, we do all know the tropes that basically, in video games, any status effect will be useless. It's almost always the way. Status effects will be incredibly unhelpful, they won't hit the AI, and they'll usually make your team's life a living hell, especially because the AI gets the ability to stack multiple status effects, usually in one attack, but you don't. Of course, there are games, as I've said, like Etrian Odyssey, where using things like status effects and binds are not only useful, but absolutely vital to survival. Same deal with the Persona games in all fairness. If you don't know how to use weaknesses, status effects, status buffs, and debuffs to your advantage, you will die. I mean, even if you do, you'll die, because it's Atlas, and you die a lot in Atlas games. So, there we are, level up for Bones' team. Defense doesn't matter, so Dragon Zombie can just focus its sheer power on attack. Alright, so we're pretty safe for now. We want to go as far as we can to various places. Kaiba, move over here. Nothing fancy there. Let's... Diovan is liberated. Good-o. Let's get a trader over here. I'm always eager to find things just in case we miss any items. But for now, we'll just focus on profiles. Midnight Fiend has never made an international appearance. In Japan, it debuted and made its only appearance in Booster 1. Now, this monster's flavor text, when translated, says it only appears when a Midnight tribute is made. Obviously not a lot of these have been made, as it's only been printed once in the entire OCG. I would be willing to bet it's just sitting there in whatever realm it calls home, getting really pissed off because Ted from down the road decided to perform his ritual sacrifice a minute early, and according to the rules, it can't show up because it wasn't exactly midnight. I bet this thing's really lonely or suffering terminal boredom. At least it will be fairly handy for inflicting poison on enemies, even if poison's kind of an iffy status effect in this game. Phantom D1 has never made an international appearance. In Japan, it debuted and made its only appearance in Booster 1. This monster is in almost the same situation as Midnight Fiend. It appeared in the same set, and only that set, same level and attribute, same defense, but Phantom D1 is a spellcaster. It has 100 less attack, so technically speaking, it's worse than Midnight Fiend on paper. However, Phantom D1 doesn't need to wait for Ted from down the road to kill someone at the right time in order to do things. It does live up to its flavor text, which says it can paralyze an enemy with a single curse, because its attack actually paralyzes opponents. On days off, Phantom D1 moonlights as a Jawa. Also, if you're curious, a D1 was a high government position in Islamic regions and the Punjab. The more you know. The snake hare made its international debut in legendary collection Joey's World. In Japan it debuted in Booster 5 nearly 14 years to the day earlier. In Japan this monster is known as Medusa's Ghost. It's not like there's a copyright ban on this because the legends have been around for ages, so why didn't the international version keep the name? It's very obviously Medusa, it even paralyzes opponents in this game. What's not particularly obvious is how this monster serves as fusion material for two skeletal monsters when it's very clearly corporeal and kind of a Lamia. At least Blackland Fire Dragon helps it make a skeleton dragon with Skelgon, and it looks sort of snake-ish. How on earth does it make an elephant skeleton with Great Mammoth of Goldfine aka Golden Demon Elephant? By fusing with Dragon Zombie. This really doesn't make sense, but not a lot about early Yu-Gi-Oh! Did. So, we rejoin the action with Martha's team slowly but surely trying to take down our enemies there. Let's see. Dark Energy, Power of Nature, and Violet Crystal for Mokuba. Not really what we're after in all fairness. But we're mostly eroding Giant Soldier of Stone here. Shouldn't be too bad all things considered. Our crappy health does present a bit of a problem. So I'll have to do a little bit of healing. The plant can heal again. Because it's just sort of there, it's not very strong. Dark Plant is a bit of a joke. But could be handy somewhere along the way. Maybe I'll keep training it at some point. I haven't done very much with it in my main story because, oh boy, is it horrible trying to do that. So we will just have to take out Giant Soldier of Stone gradually. I don't know what's going to happen with the turn order, but I don't want it to kill my plant. Bit of damage there. That said, I think I can take it out if I get the next attack. I will... Well, next attack I'll definitely take it out, but... There we go. And halitosis wins the day. That's not a sentence you are ever going to hear under any other circumstances. Except with a really terrible plant involved. There we go. So actually some decent levels for Martha's team. Tetran is liberated, and... There were things. There were definitely things. I'll probably be able to stick a few more profiles in there, but... Once we just have to get through this battle. We've admittedly seen this one before, so I can probably speed it up. I think Bones kind of fought this... No, it was Martha's who fought this team. But... Alright, so they really don't like the snake hair. Thank you. Suppose it doesn't really matter who we go for. Just hit it with high power. I'll use Midnight Fiend to heal, and we'll be as good as gold. So yeah, defense is kind of pointless in this game. There's no real reason for it on account of the fact that it's only attack power that matters when calculating damage. Kind of weird, so monsters like Giant Soldier of Stone really aren't much chop. We'll take Cannon the Sword Mistress out of the picture. just to make absolutely sure. You thought Dark Plant's bad breath was savage. Whew. So, Tiger Axe. This one, assigned to the Y button, didn't guard, so... There we are. Now, I wonder what it would be like actually giving Bones' team items like Violet Crystal. I suppose I've never bothered, because it just rips through things so well anyway. It's just devastating. I will of course get to showing that off, and I'll show off all the other modes when we wind up beating the game, but if you put a lot of work into this game, you can get some really powerful monsters. It is so well worth it. It is so well worth it. And it does actually get to give us a really good side of Kaiba. Like, we know that he's a jerk a lot of the time, but he does have a pretty good heart deep down. I mean, let's not forget that in the anime, he does actually wind up doing a fair bit of stuff for orphans because he remembers where he came from. He might be incredibly arrogant, but he does at least remember his roots, and he's pretty good to orphans, and he will put in a fair bit of work with some decent ventures, even if he goes a bit crazy where Yugi is concerned. And it's probably not too much of a stretch of character, that unfortunately missed, for Kaiba to actually do something like that, since it's made very clear that Kaiba doesn't like Marthas much. It probably ties in with the fact that Marthas is a very military type, an almost obsessively military type who loves executing people. That would probably remind Kaiba of Gozaburo, and as a result, he would find it incredibly distasteful. I think that's part of the reason why he hates Marthas so much and is prepared to do things like keeping Bones alive, just to spite him. Because he's reminded of Gozaburo, and he really, really, really hates Gozaburo. That's my theory anyway. What do we get here? Yami, Magic Jammer, and Black Shield. Not gonna worry about that. Checked out what was down here, didn't I? No, I'll send Marthas over there, and then we'll get some teams organised. Call of the Haunted made its international debut in Pharaoh's Servant, then reappeared a lot. In Japan it debuted in Curse of Anubis, and interestingly in Joey's starter deck. Call of the Haunted is a very efficient and helpful trap card, so it's no surprise it's reappeared a lot. The art has been changed to remove the cross-shaped graves, no religious references of any kind, but you'll note there's Greek text in there on the graves reading Konami and Hanako, the latter tying into an urban legend which is sort of like Moaning Myrtle but portals to hell. Worth reading up on, I guess. In the anime, it revived Zanki, Crawling Dragon, and Crass Clown as their zombie counterparts, making them stronger each time they return. Though the card does explain things very poorly in all fairness, it nonetheless makes for a pretty powerful undead army. It's time to face Labyrinth Ruler. Labyrinth Ruler is based on the Labyrinth Mage from Forbidden Memories, as I said. He is also intended to be this game's stand-in for the Paradox Brothers. So as a result, he does at least have one of the monsters associated with the Paradox Brothers, namely Shadow Ghoul, which wound up fusing with Wall Shadow. Yes, that was actually a fusion monster in the anime and manga. We fought Labyrinth Ruler with Mokuba because Mokuba has two spirit monsters, and we are going to make short work. It is always worth noting, the easiest way to deal with a labyrinth, bust through the walls. I know, for example, it might be a bit sacrilegious taking a chainsaw to a hedge maze, but nobody said you can't do it. Okay, maybe there are some laws about property damage and vandalism and things like that that actually do say you can't do it, But if we're talking spirit of the law, not letter of the law, then there is absolutely nothing stopping you from solving a maze by using some sort of tool at your disposal to wind up breaking down the walls. At least, it should be the way anyway, because it's kind of like, I remember the earliest example I know of it being in one of the Dinotopia novels I read. One of the characters is challenged to run an obstacle course in with this dinosaur society. He's told he has to get to the end of the obstacle course in the fastest time. However, he just winds up running to the end of the obstacle course, knowing full well that he can't beat their champions. He just runs to the end of the obstacle course and points out, well, you didn't tell me you didn't specifically say I had to run over the obstacles. Interestingly enough, a lot of the main dinosaurs in this group actually wind up praising his resourcefulness because he thought of an interesting outside-the-box solution to a problem. And in fact, this idea, which is called doing an Andrew, because that's the character's name, actually winds up helping influence their tactical thinking sometimes. It's really, really clever, I find. If somebody doesn't specifically say, I can't do something, and it's still within the spirit of the law and it's fair, then I'm going to go ahead and do it, just because I can. It's one of the problems with English, and indeed one of the problems with legislation. For example, if the legislation is actually worded to say you're not allowed to have, let's say, you're not allowed to have dogs of any kind, that pretty much prevents you from having any dogs somewhere. I need a few of these. But if you start specifically naming dog breeds and then you wind up forgetting things, then you wind up in a bit of trouble because, like, let's say you've named absolutely all these brands. You can't have... Somebody's trying to say you can't have dogs here. They've got all this stuff, blah, 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 all these bits of information, and it's like... They've listed all those breeds, and then it's like... Wait a minute, did you say this? Wait a minute, I've been looking at the law. Did you say we can't have this? Well, no, but... There you go. So I can have one. You've said I can't have all these different kinds of dogs, but I can have this. It's very much bending the rules, in a sense, but it's also completely legal because of the fact that they haven't specifically said you can't do this. Sometimes you actually have to be somewhat vague in your wording when it comes to legislation, so that the law basically says everything is covered. If you start to get too specific, or you're too vague, you've got to get a weird balance, but the problem is it winds up being so boring. It's judgment time for the Imperial Forces! And we wind up fighting Pegasus, who, unsurprisingly, has a very Pegasus team. All of these monsters are treated as toon-like monsters. They are not actually toons in the card game, but they did count as toon monsters, appropriately enough, in Kaiba's battle with Pegasus. Alright, so we want a noble parrot dragon. That blue medicine is now out of the equation. It's very appropriate that they gave Pegasus this team as far as I'm concerned. So we'll keep up the heat on Parrot Dragon. Might as well give the team a buff. Gaikateno Megami can also take out Bakuri Box because it's a Darklands monster. Even though it is a dark monster, Dark Rabbit is actually a beast, which is the case in the card game. And of course, if you've got a warrior, Parrot Dragon is a dragon. So we'll focus a bit of fire on Bakuri Box. I'll gradually keep Parrot Dragon locked down. And the fight shouldn't be too hard. It is definitely easier the second time around because if you know where the items are, you've got so many good items you can turn the battle in your favour. Let's see if Octobursa wraps this up. Not quite. Don't think that counts as tempting fate though, since I didn't definitely state. We'll break through Bakuri Box's guard. So yeah, it is also... We'll find out all about these monsters in due course because we do unlock them. And there we are. Done and dusted. With Octobursa ready to lob harpoons at people. And there we are. Now, fearsome Jack in the Box is no more. Fairly difficult adversary, Jack in the Box. The fight against Mad Jack in Donkey Kong 64, oh, that was rough. It's mostly the camera that's the big issue in that fight. Absolute nightmare, but in all fairness, the fight is designed to be absolutely terrifying. It took absolutely forever for Dark Rabbit to make it into the international version of the game. And it won't be long until we wipe it out. Absolute pests in Australia, rabbits. Can't believe that some POM decided it would be a really good idea to introduce a whole bunch of rabbits, and then he and his mates demonstrated Stormtrooper level accuracy, and the little bastards have been a pain in the ass since. So there we go, we have beaten Pegasus. They are stronger than we thought! Retreat! But later on... Good evening, my young Lord Kaiba. Pegasus? Yes, it is I, Pegasus J. Kreutzel, your rival on the battlefield just some short time ago. Interestingly, this is a modified version of his name in the Japanese version, which was Pegasus J. Crawford. Interestingly, the fact that Tenma brothers have their name is because I think Tenma is actually the Japanese name for Pegasus. Or something to do with that. I think it might literally mean heavenly horse. I'll put the exact reasons up on screen, but basically they're named that because there is a connection. I am the ruler of Mariarden and now the leader of the Resistance. It's an honor to meet you. What brings you to the enemy camp, Pegasus, and why the fake retreat? Just what I would suspect from the leader of the Imperial Guard. You saw right through my phony withdrawal. I am pleased that you realized it for what it was. I pulled my forces back because as we were fighting, I got a strange feeling that you were very different from the Emperor's other staff. That's it? A strange feeling? You cannot fool me, good sir. I am not a patriotic nobleman and leader of the Resistance for nothing. I may not know why I felt what I did, but I'm sure I'm right. You have not sworn loyalty to the Emperor, have you? Perhaps. Then again, maybe I should just call for the guards and have you taken into custody. Oh, no, you will not do that. Like I said, I know. Anyway, the reason I've come to see you is to invite you to join the Resistance. Excuse me? We were in the midst of fighting but moments ago. Why ask me to join? As the saying goes, yesterday's enemy is today's friend. I have no problem welcoming you into the Resistance. I was once part of the Imperial Court, but as the Imperial Order's influence grew, so did my dissatisfaction. It turns a blind eye on its people and taxes them to support its own excesses. I joined the Resistance to put things right. The Imperial Order is being manipulated by a powerful figure. I fight so that I may learn who is controlling the Imperial Order from the shadows and defeat him. Kaiba, I don't know why you pretend to fight for the Emperor, but you will reach your goal faster fighting by my side. I guarantee that. The resistance will continue to grow. The Emperor's rule is weakening and will soon be nothing but a memory. Join with me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son! Sorry, I couldn't resist. What's happening in there, Kaiba? I should go. Give my offer some thought. And Pegasus somehow sneaks out from underneath the noses of the guards, and we have a very unusual offer. Let's see where this one goes. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.